I'm Carmelina from VedicLight18.com, and today we're looking at Saturn retrograde for each and every ascendant or moon sign. And so if you don't know what your ascendant is or what your moon sign is, I have a free chart calculator on my website. The link is going to be below. And if you do have your time of birth, perfect, put your time of birth in the details and you will have your ascendant and your moon sign. You want to look at both and look at the sign, but also look at the degrees of these two placements. If you don't have your time of birth, it's okay. Just use your moon sign. You look at the degree of the moon and the sign of the moon, and you put 12 p.m. in the details. Okay, so before I get to the forecast for every ascendant and moon sign, Saturn turns retrograde on July 26 to December 10, so for 5 months. And Saturn turns retrograde, every single year, once a year for 5 months. Before he turns retrograde, he significantly slows down about 3.5 weeks before. And this energy can slow us down. It can slow us in, certain parts of our lives. It can even block us temporarily. You may feel tired. You may feel exhausted. You may feel heavy. And this is particularly true if you have planets near the 20-degree mark, either in Pisces or the opposing sign, Virgo, or in Sagittarius, or in Taurus. And of course, I'm talking about Vedic sidereal astrology. If you have any planets here near 20 degrees, give or take 3 degrees, then you're going to feel this energy more intensely. And there could be some sort of karmic issue going on, okay? Something that you have to face or something that you have to restructure in your life, basically. And it's going to be the same thing for when Saturn turns direct on December 10. He's turning direct at 13 degrees and 41 minutes. But 3.5 weeks prior to that, so beginning mid-November, if you have any planets near 13 degrees of Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Taurus, then you're going to feel this energy more intensely. It can slow you down. It could make you feel exhausted, depleted, like the juice is being squeezed out of you. It's normal and it's going to pass. And Saturn is basically encouraging you to slow down, to rethink certain things, to restructure certain parts of your life, and to do things correctly. Okay, so you will feel more intense energies. You will feel more, you will feel the intensity of Saturn slowing down, is what I'm trying to say. But 5 days before he turns retrograde and 5 days before he turns direct, this energy is the most intense energy of all. These are not times to begin a new chapter in your life. This is not the time to have a celebration, get married, or to really do something, to begin something amazing. It's really not. It's really not the right time. Even these 3.5 weeks of July, it's not a good time for new beginnings. You want to slow down. Okay, so Saturn is the Lord of Karma. So many people fear him because of this. He has to do with the laws of nature, with karmic retribution, with, he makes us face reality, the reality of our actions, the long-term consequences of our actions. Saturn has a lot to do with long-term commitments and long-term results. It took Saturn, about 28, 29 years to get to the sign of Pisces, which is the last sign in the zodiac. And so the energy here, especially in Revati Nakshatra, Saturn is in Revati until October 9th is all about completions, endings, major life transitions, closing a chapter and beginning a new one. And so that's the energy here in Revati Nakshatra. And also Pisces is this sign that's incredibly spiritual and incredibly connected to the other side. Very spiritual, very connected to the divine, to God, to spirituality, and things like that. From October 9th to December 10th, Saturn will be in Uttara Bhadrapada, which is a very intense lunar mansion or nakshatra, which has to do with very profound transformation. It's actually ruled by Saturn, and it's the warrior star. It deals with, with that warrior spirit. And things can get very karmic during this time because it's ruled by Saturn. Things can be a little bit more intense. And there's also the nakshatra before that, Purva Bhadrapada, which they go together, right? And a lot of people will say, well, Purva Bhadrapada is a lot more intense than Uttara Bhadrapada, because Purva deals more with the intensity of fire. This is more water, but I don't really agree with that. I think that they're both equally intense. They're both part of the 11 Rudras, the storm gods, the Shiva energy, which is very deeply transformative. It's this cycle of death and rebirth that can really transform you. And so when Saturn is in Uttara Bhadrapada, there can be some very, very profound transformations in your life. Very profound. And so I wouldn't say that Saturn is a planet that we should fear, but Saturn teaches us very important life lessons. He teaches us accountability, responsibility, hard work, building a strong foundation, building a solid foundation for our future. So he makes us think about the future. And this is a time, the retrograde phase is a time of restructuring certain parts of your life and reconsidering, what do you want your future to look like? And it begins now. It begins today with your actions that you do today. And he can slow you down in certain parts of your life because he wants you to do things more correctly. He wants you to do things with purpose and with intention. And so this is a time to even reinforce your boundaries and your limitations, because yes, he teaches us hard work, but he also teaches us our limitations and boundaries, when to slow down, when to pause, when to rest. And also this can be a fantastic time to cut off toxic people from your life. Okay, this is a great time for that. So there's nothing to fear, but Saturn will definitely give us a reality check if we need one. If you've been living in La La Land, if you've been living in a fantasy world, then Saturn can give you a pretty harsh reality check. And also, one important thing about Revati Nakshatra, the deity is Pushan. He's like a solar deity. And he deals with, helping people that have lost their way. And he basically helps people get back on the right track, or get back on the path that they're meant to be on, basically. So that's really interesting too. I just wanted to mention that. So now let's get started and listen to both your ascendant and your moon sign if you do have your time of birth. Okay, so let's begin with sidereal Pisces ascendant or
moon sign. Saturn is in your first house. He's going to turn retrograde in your ascendant. And so this is a time of very profound, deep self-reflection. It's a time of maturity and personal restructuring. You're thinking about your life path. You're thinking about the future. And you may feel slower during this time. You may feel more tired, a little bit weighed down, especially if your ascendant or your moon sign are close to the 20-degree mark. Now, if your moon is in Pisces, this means you are in the peak of Sati, which is part of a larger period of Saturn. And Sati means the 7.5 years of Saturn, basically. And he transits the two signs hemming the moon, basically. So the two signs on either side of the moon sign. And when he transits your moon sign, that is the peak of Sadesati. And so this is a lot more difficult. It can really even put you into a depression. You can feel a lot more heavy and you can have greater responsibilities during this period. This is really a time where you're burning up a lot of concentrated karma. And so one thing you want to avoid is isolating yourself. And one thing that you really want to do is try to cultivate as much positivity as you can, and not that fake positivity. You really want to cultivate a positive outlook on life, and you want to have a positive attitude toward yourself. And so Saturn is really teaching you important life lessons during this retrograde phase, and he wants you to restructure your life if necessary. And he wants you to seriously think about your long-term goals and where you want your life to be. Now, from the first house, Saturn is opposing your 7th house of relationships. And so relationships will be tested during this time. This is a time where unresolved issues will surface within relationships. It could be within your marriage. It could be with a business partner. And so this is a time to reconsider your relationships. Is this what you want long term? Are you with the right partner? Do you want to work things through and make the relationship more solid and long lasting? And so these are questions that you may have. Another scenario is that your partner may be going through a difficult time and you need to be there for them. This is a fantastic time to reconsider or reinforce your boundaries with certain people. This can be a great time to cut out toxic individuals from your life as well. Now, from the first house, Saturn is also casting its third aspect onto your third house, which is Taurus. And this has a lot to do with communication and learning and travel. And so these things can be significantly slowed down. Your thinking may be slowed down. You're slowed down mentally. You may have a little bit of difficulty expressing your thoughts and your ideas. And this is because Saturn wants you to really think about the way you communicate, your communication style, and to think about the things that you say. The third house deals with younger siblings. There could be maybe issues with your younger sibling if you have any, or it could be, they may need your help on something, or you have to revisit some sort of topic with them, or it could pertain to maybe a neighbor that is giving you some sort of problem or issue. There are a lot of delays in terms of documents. If you need to file a document or any sort of application, things like that, these things can be temporarily blocked or significantly delayed. So be aware of that. From here, Saturn also casts a 10th aspect to your house of career, public image. And this is a time of career restructuring, basically. You're thinking about what you want to you're thinking about long-term career goals. Basically, you're thinking about your public image, how you want to appear in the world, what is your place in society, and things like that. There could be added responsibilities at your work during this period. There can also be delays with your projects related to work. And this is only because Saturn is trying to teach you to do things correctly, or to do them the right way. This is a time where your boss can be a lot more demanding, or some sort of authoritative figure can maybe challenge you, or things like that. You always want to be respectful and honor and respect anybody that is above you. Okay, so now for sidereal Aries ascendant or moon sign. Saturn is retrograding in your 12th house. This is a house that has a lot to do with endings, completions, the past, old memories, intuition. And so during this time, Saturn will be stirring up a lot of old memories and also subconscious patterns that will be resurfacing around this time for healing. And Saturn can even show you some hidden self-sabotaging habits that you may have. This is when these things will come to light. They will come into your awareness. And so this is a time of healing those things. This is a big time and transition pertaining to closure, to endings. You may feel a lot more tired and depleted. This is a time to rest, recuperate, take care of yourself, and finish things that were left undone. Basically, this is going to be very important. This Saturn transit is actually very monumental in your life, because Saturn, this time next year, Saturn will be entering your first house. And so this is going to be a new beginning that you're going to, a new cycle, a new life cycle that begins. And the current cycle that you're in has a lot to do with endings. Sometimes people get a divorce during this time. There's there could be a lot of scenarios pertaining to endings that appear. You also want to take care of your health if you have any sort of health issues. If Saturn is slowing you down, if you have a planet here near the 20-degree mark, or even near 13 degrees, and that's more for the month of November, December, then you're going to feel a lot more tired. You don't want to push through necessarily. You want to make sure that you're resting enough, that you're sleeping enough, because sometimes Saturn retrograde here can really disturb your sleep. And so this is an important Saturn retrograde where you're reconsidering the past and all the things that you have to let go of. Okay, it's a very important phase, not just the retrograde, but all of the Saturn transit here for you. From the 12th house, Saturn is opposing your 6th house of health and healing. And so health issues can surface around this time, but the 6th house is really minor health issues or chronic issues. And so this is the time to get back into shape. This also pertains to maybe you need greater discipline. You need better organization. You need to change maybe your routine, have a more regular routine. There's a lot of things surrounding your workspace that need to be adjusted and modified, and, things like that. There could be a lot of delays even at work, and so there's a lot of patience that is required, maybe with colleagues, maybe even with your boss, or things like that. It's important to reinforce healthy boundaries for yourself during this time, and look at developing better habits as well. So it's really about organizing your daily life and taking your time. Okay, Saturn is delaying you in certain areas pertaining to your health, pertaining to your work. And even if you have a pet, this could be a time where your pet may need a lot more attention, or there could be, he may have like health issues or something like that. So you want to take care of that as well. Now, from the 12th house, Saturn is aspecting your second house. And so finances and personal values are being restructured. This is a time to look at your spending habits and to maybe budget for some of you. Maybe that's a necessity during this time. This is also a period where family issues, especially unresolved family issues, may surface. This is a time to reconsider your diet, what you're eating, what you're drinking, okay? How you're spending money once again. Review your spending habits. And so Saturn can slow down your finances. There can be issues, temporary blocks pertaining to that as well. Now, from the 12th house, Saturn also aspects the sign of Sagittarius, which is your 9th house. And so there could be significant delays in travel or in education, or maybe you're, you're reconsidering going back to school or something like that, but there's going to be delays. If that's the case, then something's going to slow you down pertaining to that. Any travel documentation is going to be temporarily blocked or delayed around this time. There could be matters involving your father that may require more attention. There's maybe some sort of karmic debt with your father. But this is a time where your beliefs and your spiritual outlook will deepen and will transform. Okay, you're questioning, you're reconsidering your long-held beliefs. For sidereal Taurus ascendant or sidereal Taurus moon sign, Saturn is transiting your 11th house. This is the house of your wishes, your dreams, your desires. And so this is a time when all these things are being restructured or reconsidered. Maybe you're having a change of heart. Old dreams may change, and maybe there's something pertaining to recognition or a promotion that you've been wanting for a while, and it's not going to happen during this time, but it doesn't mean it's going to be denied. It's only delayed. So you may be, questioning where you belong, and what groups you want to identify with and things of that nature. You may be more drawn to older people during this time, more mature individuals. If you have an older sibling, then there could be some unresolved issues that resurface for closure, for healing, or they may be going through a difficult time and maybe they may need your help. From the 11th house, Saturn is opposing your 5th house. This is the house of intelligence, of creativity, creative projects, and children. And if you don't have children, well, it's, more about creative projects and even romance and dating and things like that. So there's, a slowdown happening pertaining to creativity. You may feel like your creativity is paused or blocked or frozen around this time. This is really temporarily. Saturn may be wanting you to revisit and refine old projects and work and things like that. Children may require more patience around this time. They may, doesn't matter how old they are, whether they're young or older, they may be going through something around this time where they need your extra care and attention. In terms of romance, if you're single, there may be somebody from the past that may try to reconnect with you. This is more likely for maybe unfinished business, for like some sort of karmic debt, or it could be, for closure, or maybe they're trying to test your boundaries. So you want to have firm boundaries. But this opposition of Saturn retrograde to the 5th house, there could definitely be some sort of pressure pertaining to either creative projects or your pressure surrounding your children and things like that. This is not the best time to be dating, I will say. Now, Saturn aspects your first house, and so you may be feeling a little bit more tired than usual, a lot more introspective than usual. You're thinking about your future, you're thinking about your life path. You know, Saturn is in your 11th house until next year, this time. But in 2027, around June, July, Saturn will be entering your 12th house, which is a house of endings and completions and closing chapters. And so you really want to start thinking about what you want your life to look like in the future. You want to start doing that now. And so this is why I feel like the Saturn transiting your 11th house, not just the retrograde phase, but this entire Saturn in your 11th house is very significant in terms of your goals for the future, your dreams. You really want to, redefine them and reconsider them and think about them and really think about who you're associating with. All this it's all tied in together, So, as Saturn aspecting your first house can make you, very introspective about your life path, your purpose in life, your outlook on life. Your path is slowly being transformed. And depending if you have planets here near the 20-degree mark or even near 13 degrees, because that's where Saturn is going to be retrograding at 13 degrees, that energy is going to be more for November, December. If you do have planets at 13 degrees, then you're going to feel more tired. Listen to your body, rest, and slow down if necessary. From the 11th house, Saturn aspects your 8th house. This is a house of profound psychology, profound transformation, hidden secrets. And so there could be hidden fears and self-worth issues that resurface or that surface during this period. And it's for healing, it's for transformation. Shared finances, shared resources may need reassessment and restructuring as well. Okay. There could be a greater interest in psychology, astrology, therapy, spirituality, esoteric subjects in general. For sidereal Gemini ascendant or moon sign, Saturn is retrograding in your 10th house of your career, your social standing, your public image. This house has a lot to do with responsibilities and even authority figures in your life. And so there's this restructuring being done during this period pertaining to the way you want to appear in your career, in your profession, in your work. And so there's this transformation of your public image that is being looked at during this time. There could be a lot of delays in your work. Saturn is really encouraging you to do things correctly, to do things right, and to refine your work, maybe add a little bit more depth to your work and things like that. So you want to pay attention to that. This is a really fantastic time to finish those projects that were left undone. Fantastic time. And so all the effort, all the hard work you'll be putting in during this retrograde phase will absolutely be rewarded once Saturn goes direct. There could be some added responsibilities during this time. And so you want to honor your responsibilities, but at the same time, you have to know your limits. Yes, Saturn teaches us hard work and discipline, but part of discipline is also knowing when to slow down and when to rest and pause and take a break. And so you really want to respect any sort of authoritative institution or corporation or any government dealings that you may have, governmental dealings that you may have around this time. You want to respect these areas of life if you have any dealings with them around this time. Now, from the 10th house, Saturn is opposing your 4th house. And so there's this pressure going on here. There's this pressure and tension at home, and it could be related to maybe repairs that need to be done. Maybe there's renovations that need to be completed in your home or done. There could be, family issues that resurface or that even require more attention and responsibility. So you may have added responsibility at home, and you may have added responsibilities at work. And so there's this tug of war between family life, private life, and your career, your profession, your professional life. And so you really want to try and find a healthy balance. Maybe delegate some work in your delegate your some of your work, or even at home, you want to delegate some tasks to other family members and things like that. Maybe your mother needs more attention during this time or more care. There could be issues related to vehicles. Make sure your vehicle is up to date in terms of maintenance. This may not be the right time to purchase a new vehicle. There could be issues with real estate. Selling your property may be delayed, postponed, or something like that. You may be reconsidering a move or something of that nature. There could be issues with real estate, basically. From the 10th house, Saturn is aspecting your 12th house of rest, recuperation, endings, completions. And so you may be feeling more tired than usual. Your sleep can definitely be disturbed, but nonetheless, you still need to know your limits, your boundaries, and know when to pause, like I mentioned before. Old memories may be resurfacing right now. There could be a lot of little endings that need to be done and completions that need to be done as well. This is a time for just completing unfinished matters in general. It could be the perfect time for donations and maybe charity work or something like that. From the 10th house, Saturn aspects the sign of Sagittarius, which is the 7th house for you, the house of relationships. And so there could be unresolved issues pertaining to relationships that arise. You may be reconsidering or restructuring your concepts, your ideas pertaining to relationships and agreements or contracts or partnerships. There could be somebody from the past that returns, and this could be for a karmic debt. It could be for closure, or it could be they could try to test your boundaries or something like that. It's really also a good time to strengthen your boundaries within relationships in general. And this may be the time to cut off, toxic, unhealthy relationships and individuals. For sidereal Cancer ascendant or moon sign, well, Saturn is retrograding in your 9th house. And so this house has a lot to do with your beliefs in general, spiritual beliefs, religious beliefs. And so there's this reconsideration, there's this rethinking, reassessment that is being done pertaining to your beliefs. For some people, this could be a crisis of faith that you'll be going through during this time. Maybe long held beliefs are being, revisited and transformed and changed. And so this could be a time of expansion in terms of the things that you believe. Maybe you had a very restrictive way of thinking in terms of your beliefs, and now you're a lot more open-minded, or at least you're considering broadening your beliefs. Now, there could be delays in travel, delays pertaining to education, or if you're considering or reconsidering going back to school or something like that, well, that could be postponed, that could be delayed. Any sort of documentation pertaining to travel can, be blocked around this time. Any sort of application or something along those lines can be blocked or temporarily delayed. Now, the ninth house pertains to our father. And so maybe your father will require some attention during this time. Maybe there is some sort of karmic debt related with your father. The ninth house also deals with legal issues. And so there could be legal issues that you have to deal with, and it could pertain to your father as well. But you definitely want to check up with your father if he's still around, especially if he's older or if he's unwell or something like that. You want to maybe, find out how he's doing and things like that. So Saturn here is really also asking you, are you living in alignment with your purpose in life, with your true purpose in life? The ninth house is a very philosophical type of house, and it has a lot to do with the truth and with wisdom and with aligning with our unique path in this life, this path that it's called swadharma, and it has to do with our own individuality and originality and our own gifts and talents in the world. And so are you living according to your swadharma, according to your truth, whatever that may be for you? So there's these, deeper, higher philosophical, spiritual questioning, inner questioning that will be going on during this time. From the ninth house, Saturn is opposing your third house. This house deals with communication, with learning, with information, with the critical, rational, quick mind. And so what's going to happen is that Saturn is actually slowing down your thinking. And so you may find it difficult to express yourself during this time, especially if you have planets here, if you have planets here near 20 degrees or anywhere between 20 degrees and 13 degrees. Then, you can feel like you're having trouble expressing your thoughts, your ideas, what you're thinking. And so Saturn is really encouraging you to slow down and to maybe revisit your communication style. Think about how you're communicating, what you're saying. He's likely encouraging you to speak with purpose and with intention and things like that. The third house also deals with younger siblings. And so there could be some sort of tension. There could be some sort of pressure pertaining to a sibling, a younger sibling. If you don't have a younger sibling, it could just be a sibling in general. It could be an older sibling as well, because Saturn is also aspecting your 11th house of older siblings. But the third house also deals with travel, so lots of travel delays, and it could be in your area, in your neighborhood where there are, extra roads that are blocked, or there's like a lot of changes going on in terms of your neighborhood, your streets and things like that. And I know here in my area, things are changing a lot. They're making a lot of two-way streets they're turning two-way streets into one-way streets. And so it's a nightmare. So something like that can be going on around this time. Now, Saturn is aspecting your 11th house. And so this is a time of reassessing your social circle, your friendships, your long-term goals, your aspirations, your wishes, your desires. You may be drawn to older or wiser mentors or friends and things like that, more mature people. 11th house deals with an older sibling. There could be issues pertaining to them. Maybe, they need your help or something like that. From the 9th house, Saturn is also aspecting the house of Sagittarius, which for you happens to be the 6th house of health and healing. This is also a house pertaining to work, to daily routines. And so maybe there needs to be greater discipline around this time. You need to, organize your life, your workspace. If you have a pet, maybe this is a time where they need some help, some attention. It could be morally, physically that they're not doing so well. And so there could also be issues with boundaries at work with colleagues, or maybe, it's time to set good boundaries with them. This is a time where you want to avoid getting into debt, financial debt, and you want to prioritize your health and your diet. There could be minor issues that arise that you need to take care of during this time. So for sidereal, Leo, ascendant, or moon sign, Saturn is retrograding in your 8th house. This is probably it is the most intense transit of all the Saturn transits. The 8th house deals with our psychology, our psychological state and well-being. And the 8th house has a lot to do with very deep transformation, metamorphosis, sudden life changes, even crisis, and this sort of death and rebirth type of energy. And so Saturn retrograde, more specifically, is really stirring up a lot of hidden fears, a lot of emotional wounds, a lot of unhealed, unprocessed feelings and emotions. And so this is when they're surfacing and they're coming up in your awareness, and this is for healing and for transformation. There needs to be during this time a reassessment of your shared finances and self-worth and intimate relationships and other people's money. These are all topics that will arise during this time. And so there's a lot of issues pertaining to self-worth that will be coming up during this time. This is really a powerful period for inner growth, for psychology, for therapy, for the study of astrology and esoteric studies and things like that. From the 8th house, Saturn is opposing the 2nd house. And so these are two money houses, okay? This is the axis of money, of finances, of self-worth. And so the 2nd house here, Saturn is restructuring your finances, your personal values. It's really an important time to be mindful of your spending. The 2nd house deals with family matters and issues. And so unresolved family issues can arise during this time. You have to watch your words. The 2nd house deals with our speech and the words that we use. And so sometimes when Saturn is aspecting or opposing the 2nd house, we can be pretty harsh with our words. And so Saturn is asking you to reconsider the things that come out of your mouth. Now, dental expenses and dental treatments can arise during this retrograde phase. So you want to be careful with your teeth. From the 8th house, Saturn is aspecting the 10th house of career, social status, your social standing in the world. And this is a time of restructuring in terms of your public image, your career. Some of you may be thinking of changing jobs or changing careers, and so you're just reconsidering your place in the world in terms of your profession and the things that you want to do in terms of work. You may have added responsibilities as well during this time. There could be, some delays also as well. And Saturn is delaying you because he wants you to do things the right way and the correct way. It's going to be important during this time that you respect any sort of governmental institution, any sort of a business cooperation that is owned by the government, and if you have any sort of dealings with them, that you are respectful. So from the 8th house, Saturn aspects the 5th house. This is the house of your creativity, your children. If you do not have children, then this is really about your creative projects. And this is also a house that pertains to dating, but also intelligence and spiritual practices. And so there could be a lot of delays in terms of your creativity. So your creativity may slow down, it may be frozen or temporarily blocked. And so Saturn is inviting you to slow down, to think a little bit more deeply during this period, and maybe to refine your creative projects. Children may require some of your extra attention and extra time. There could be issues with them, or maybe they may be going through a difficult time. It doesn't matter how old they are. They could be young, they could be older. If you're single, a past romantic interest can return. Normally, this is for closure. This is either to test your boundaries, or this is for a karmic debt or something like that. This is really not the right time to be dating, actually, when Saturn is retrograding and aspecting your 5th house. This is a perfect time for spirituality, for reading, ancient scripture, or just spiritual books and things of that nature. Okay, so for sidereal Virgo ascendant or Virgo moon sign, Saturn is retrograding in your 7th house. This is the house of other people, of relationships, including marriage, romantic relationships, business partnerships. And so there's a certain reality check that comes up during this 5-month period where you will be re-examining your relationships a lot more deeply. And so, commitment issues, trust issues, relationship integrity, all these things are being reassessed. And so you may be reconsidering if you're in a relationship, is this the right person for me long term? Do I want to be with this person for the rest of my life? All these really serious types of questions are arising and they're coming up. And so if this is a solid relationship, if this is a relationship based on integrity instead of fantasy, because Neptune is here, Neptune is in your 7th house of relationships. And so Neptune can pertain to, and does pertain to, a lot of delusion and illusion and fantasy, and it can be disconnected to reality. And this is why when Saturn turns retrograde, he is a lot more intense and he brings us reality checks. And so this is a time where we are seeing things a little bit more clearly. And so this can be a time also where you need to set healthy boundaries within relationships in general. This can be a time where you need to release unhealthy relationships, where you need to maybe cut off toxic individuals from your life. This could be a time also when an ex-partner may return. It could be for karmic resolution, for closure. It could be for reconsideration. Maybe you're reconsidering an ex-partner yourself, or something along those lines. Now, from the 7th house, Saturn retrograde is opposing your 1st house, the house of Virgo. And so this can create some tension it can create some pressure within your body, within your mind. You can feel a lot more tired, especially if you have any planets around 20 degrees or around 13 degrees. 13 degrees and 41 minutes. This is where Saturn will be turning direct on December 10, but starting November, if you have any planets at 13 degrees, then you will start feeling this pressure. If you have planets at 20 degrees, then you will start feeling the tension and the pressure during the month of July and August. And so this is a time where you need physical rest, you need mental rest if your moon is here. And this is a time where Saturn is encouraging you to rediscover your identity. So who are you outside of your relationships or outside of your marriage? Are you the same person? Are you compromising who you are? Are you living with integrity and authenticity? And so Saturn is really, during this time, you're becoming a lot more introspective. And so you have all these questions about your future path, your future life, your long-term commitments, your long-term goals. Okay, your outlook on life is being transformed as well. From the 7th house, Saturn is aspecting your 9th house of your beliefs, of your philosophical beliefs as well, your beliefs in general, whether it's religious or spiritual. These things are also being transformed and reassessed. This has a lot to do with your purpose in life as well. The 9th house deals with our father, and so there could be issues pertaining to your father that require attention. He may need your help, he may need assistance, or maybe there could be problems between the two of you that need resolution, unresolved issues. The 9th house also deals with legal matters, and so there could be legal matters that arise. 9th house deals with travel. There could be delays in travel, delays in documentations pertaining to travel, even delays pertaining to education or things like that. From the 7th house, Saturn is aspecting your 4th house. This is your home, your family life, your property, real estate. And so home and family requires more attention and more responsibility than usual. There is some restructuring to be done here. There is some reconsideration to be done here. Parents, especially if they're aging, they may need more of your support, more of your time. But definitely family dynamics are being reconsidered. There may be home repairs, renovations, or property matters that may be delayed or reconsidered. Okay, now for sidereal Libra ascendant or moon sign, Saturn is retrograding in your 6th house. This is the house of your health, your healing, your diet, your daily routine, your workspace even. And so there's this restructuring that needs to be done in terms of your health, in terms of your diet. There could be some minor health issues that arise, or some chronic health issues that arise during this time. And so you want to make sure that you slow down and you take care of that. You may need to reorganize your life, your routine, your habits. You may have a lot more responsibilities around this time. It's important to set really healthy boundaries and avoid burnout. And so also this is a time where you want to avoid unnecessary debt, financial debt. There could be some delays in projects, and Saturn is encouraging you to slow down, to refine your work, to do things right and build a stronger foundation basically. But there could be a lot of stress in your daily life. From the 6th house, Saturn is opposing your 12th house. And the 12th house has a lot to do with endings, with completions, with unfinished business that needs to be brought to completion, basically. And so this opposition is bringing a lot of stress and tension to unfinished projects and business. Old memories are being stirred around this time, and so this is for healing, for closure. This is a time to rest, to reflect, and once again to complete unfinished matters, and to really trust your intuition during this time. Okay, the 12th house is incredibly intuitive and spiritual, and there's a lot of empathy here. And so this is a time where you can feel other people's emotions and things like that, but also your sleep can be disturbed. And so there could be a lot of subconscious patterns that require your attention, a lot of unhealed things that surface around this time. And so you can have a greater interest in spirituality and spiritual matters. But it's a time to complete a lot of things that were left undone, basically, in your life. Now, from the 6th house, Saturn is aspecting your 8th house. This is a deeply psychological house of really profound transformation. It has to do with shared resources, shared finances, and really very deep emotional subconscious issues as well. It's like the 12th house, it's a water house. And so they both deal with emotion, intuition, spirituality, psychology. And so this is a time where hidden fears can arise, and fears around self-worth, around money, but especially around shared money, shared resources. There could be a greater interest in psychology and spirituality and esoteric subjects during this time. From the 6th house, Saturn also aspects your 3rd house. This is the house of communication, of documentation, of information. This is the house of short distance travel and also younger siblings. And so communication and mental clarity can feel slower around this time. Saturn is slowing down your thinking, your mental activity. He wants you to communicate with more purpose, with more intention. He wants you to think more deeply around this time. And so there could also be issues with a younger sibling. He or she may be going through a difficult time around this time, or there could be some unresolved karmic debt that arises during this time to be healed. Lots of travel delays and detours are possible, especially in your area, in your neighborhood, and things of that nature. You may think about taking an old course or an old lesson, or maybe you want to return to like an old skill and you want to maybe further develop it or something along those lines. Okay, so for sidereal Scorpio ascendant or moon sign, Saturn is retrograding in your 5th house. And so this has a lot to do with children, with creativity, creative projects of all sorts, and even your intelligence and spirituality and learning. And so here, issues with children arise during this retrograde. And so children may require more of your time, more of your attention, more of your energy. It could be quite difficult. There could be a lot of responsibilities. And so you may be reconsidering a lot of issues pertaining to children. Creative projects are being slowed down. Saturn is likely encouraging you to take your time and to refine your work and to do things correctly. A past romantic interest may return, and this is for closure or to test your boundaries or for some sort of karmic debt. This may not be the ideal time to date or to meet somebody new. In terms of intelligence, this is the house of deep intelligence. It's the house of the mind. The mind can be really affected during this time. Yes, you are going to think a lot more deeply, a lot more profoundly, but your mind can be affected with worry, with just preoccupation in general during this period. And so this is also, a good time to read spiritual books, ancient scriptures, or things of that sort. Now, from the fifth house, Saturn is opposing and aspecting your 11th house. And so this has to do with your connections, with the social circle that you identify with, the people you connect with. It could be friends, it could be just connections, associations, networking. But it also has to do with your dreams, your wishes, your desires. And these things seem to be transforming, or maybe they're put on pause, they're delayed. And so you're restructuring or reconsidering your life goals, the things you've always wanted. Now you're kind of maybe having a change of heart, or at least you're just reconsidering what these things are. Maybe your associations, the people you're connecting with, your social friends, maybe they don't really align with your integrity anymore, or they just don't align with you anymore, where you are in your path, in your development, in your evolution. And so maybe you're wondering, where you belong, where you fit in. You're kind of reconsidering these things. There could be also issues with older siblings. There could be a lot of tension, a lot of pressure. There could be a situation that arises with an older sibling. And so this is a time to resolve, unresolved issues may surface basically around this time, or they may go through some sort of difficulty and they may need your help. Saturn also aspects your seventh house of relationships, of contracts, agreements, other people. And so this can pertain to unresolved relationship problems that need your attention during this time. This can also be the right time to set some solid boundaries with other people. It could be the time to release unhealthy relationships as well. From the fifth house, Saturn also aspects your seventh house of finances, personal values, family. And so there needs to be some sort of reassessment of financing, and you need to look at your spending habits, and you need to re-examine what your personal values are. Some of you may need to make some serious changes to what you eat, what you drink, and also what you say. Maybe the words that you say, the things that you say need some sort of restructuring, reconsideration, and rethinking. There could be family issues as well that arise and that need resolution and closure. For sidereal Sagittarius ascendant or moon sign, Saturn is retrograding in your fourth house. And so this brings up issues pertaining to property and home life, basically. So your home and family responsibilities during this time may increase. There may need, maybe your home needs some repairs. There could be some plumbing issues around this time, so you want to be careful with that. Maybe you're undergoing renovations. There could be delays pertaining to that. And so a lot of issues surrounding the home, family dynamics. If your mother is still around, maybe your mother needs a lot more attention during this time, especially if she's elderly or she's going through something difficult pertaining to health or something like that. And so that will require a lot more of your energy and your time. And in terms of property, real estate, there could be some delays in buying or selling your property. There could also be issues pertaining to vehicles, or, you really want to make sure that your vehicles are up to date in terms of maintenance. This may not be the best time to purchase a new vehicle or even purchase a new property. From the fourth house, Saturn is opposing and aspecting the 10th house of your career, of your work, your professional life, social status. And so there could be a lot of pressure, tension in this area. And so there seems to be a tug of war between work life, professional life, and home life, privacy. It seems like you have a lot of demands in these two areas, maybe a lot of added responsibilities around this time. And it becomes a little bit challenging to balance, but you need to find you need to establish some pretty solid limitations and boundaries in terms of delegation. Maybe there are some family tasks that you can delegate, even if it pertains to caregiving or something like that. That's important that you're not alone in this. And at work as well, if you can delegate some work, or just to get some things off of your plate, because during this time you may be working a lot harder, you may have a lot more responsibilities, but at the same time there could be a lot of delays as well. But these delays are really a way for Saturn to slow you down and to make you do things the right way, the correct way. And the harder you will work during this time, the bigger the rewards are going to be once Saturn turns direct. And so it's important to learn to balance home life and family life and to maintain very healthy boundaries during this time. From the fourth house, Saturn aspects the sixth house of health and healing. You want to be sure you're on top of that. You're taking care of yourself. Make sure your diet is nutritious. There needs to be some sort of restructuring in terms of your daily routine, your workspace, your health habits. Do not get into unnecessary debt during this time. It's very important. And also, again, set healthy boundaries for yourself to avoid burnout. From the fourth house, Saturn is aspecting your ascendant, your first house. Okay, even if this is your moon, in Vedic astrology, the moon is also an ascendant. And so, of course, you're going to be feeling, extra tired around this time. Responsibilities at home increase, responsibility at work increase. You need to get more organized. This is going to affect you. And so now Saturn is really telling you, you can really do a lot during this time, but you need to have a really good routine. You need to have good rest. You need to take care of yourself physically and mentally. Okay, so don't burden yourself too much. Pace yourself, prioritize rest, and honor your limits. And this time will be a lot better. Honor your responsibilities as well. Very important. So for Capricorn ascendant or moon sign, well, Saturn is your ascendant lord, right? He's the lord, the planet that rules your ascendant or your moon sign. And so when Saturn retrogrades, this is pretty significant. It's pretty important. Now, Saturn retrogrades in your third house. This house is about communication, information, the thinking mind, the quick mind. It's about learning and traveling. And so Saturn is significantly slowing you down during this time, slowing down your mental energy and capacity. He wants you to reconsider the way that you communicate and the things that you say, the things that come out of your mouth, basically. And he wants you to communicate with purpose, with integrity. And so, and also the third house has a lot to do with with lessons and learning and courses and things like that. This could be a time where you're reconsidering taking an old lesson or an old course once again, or revisiting some sort of old skill and maybe perfecting it, refining it, becoming better at it. The third house has a lot to do with courage, and so with Saturn being here and Saturn being retrograde, it can really dampen your courage a little bit, generally speaking. It's important to think before you communicate. That's really one of the big lessons here with Saturn being retrograde, to not just blur out anything that comes to mind, but to actually pause and communicate, like I said, with integrity. There could be a lot of travel delays, commuting in your area, in your neighborhood, roads that are blocked, and things like that. In terms of documentations and applications, there could be a lot of delays there. These things can be blocked during this time. And so this may not be the proper time for filing an application, filing a document, or anything of that sort. And so here also the third house deals with younger siblings. And so your younger sibling may be a lot more busy around this time. They may be a lot less available around this time. There could be also issues pertaining to a sibling, unresolved issues that arise around this time, something along those lines. There could be issues with neighbors as well. And so a lot of patience is required. From the third house, Saturn is opposing and aspecting the ninth house. The ninth house pertains to your beliefs, your philosophical beliefs, spiritual beliefs, beliefs in general. The ninth house also pertains to your father. And so these things are being transformed. Your beliefs are being transformed. Maybe you're questioning a lot of your beliefs, and it could be beliefs on any sort of topic. It could be anything really. This axis here, the third house and the ninth house, has a lot to do with learning, with expanding the mind. The third house has a lot to do with information. And so this is a time where you need to revisit your beliefs, revisit some sort of information that you've been maybe holding on to for a very long time. Maybe your beliefs are not correct. Maybe you need to transform them, but Saturn is definitely doing some sort of deeper transformation in terms of your outlook on life. The ninth house has a lot to do with integrity and walking our true path in life. And so Saturn is kind of bringing that to your attention during this time. There could be unresolved karma related to your father or to your relationship with your father around this time. There could be, issues, maybe pressure, maybe some sort of tension within the relationship with your father that arises during this time, for closure, for healing, for resolution. And so this is not the right time to travel, by the way, during the retrograde phase. There's going to be significant delays in travel. There's going to be issues with travel documentation and things like that. Not the best time to begin a new course, a new sort of education. There's going to be a lot of delays and blocks in that area. From the third house, Saturn is aspecting your fifth house of children, creative projects, your mind, your intelligence. And so Saturn here is probably, there's going to be some sort of issues pertaining to children that resurface. Okay, your children may need more attention during this time, a lot more time, more care, more energy. Creative projects are going to be slowed down. Saturn is inviting you to do things better, do things correctly, and this is the house of dating as well. Dating right now is not really advised during this retrograde phase. However, there could be a past romantic interest that returns in your life. This is for closure. This is also to test your boundaries, your limits, your integrity. This can be for a karmic debt that is unpaid or something along those lines. Like I said, the fifth house deals with intelligence, with your mind. Having this aspect of Saturn retrograde on the fifth house can really cause you to worry. It could cause a lot of worry to your mind, a little bit of stress and a little bit of worry. This is a favorable time, however, for spiritual study, self-reflection, deep reflection. From the third house, Saturn is aspecting your 12th house, your house of your, that has a lot to do with endings, completions, old memories. And so this is a time where old memories are being stirred, subconscious patterns and blocks, and, you know, even fears can be rising up. And this is a time for healing. It's a time for closure. It's a time for endings, for completing unfinished matters. This is also a time to release any sort of self-sabotaging habit that you may have. And for some of you, maybe this is a time to pay attention to your dreams and the messages that you get during this time. For sidereal, Aquarius, ascendant, or moon sign, like I said, for Capricorn, this is really important because Saturn is your Lagna Lord. He's the ruler of your ascendant or your moon sign. And so the retrograde phase is a lot more significant for both of you, Capricorn and Aquarius people. So Saturn is retrograding in your second house. This is the house of family, the house of finances, and also has to do with your personal values and the things that you eat, the things that you drink. It has a lot to do with your material life. And so Saturn is bringing a restructuring of your finances. Maybe you need to reconsider your spending habits or something surrounding finances, maybe to develop better money management. There could be this sort of reconsideration of your personal values. Maybe Saturn is asking you, what are your personal values? Are you living according to these values that you have? And so this is a reassessment of them, a reassessment of your priorities, even your boundaries. Family issues during this time may resurface for resolution, for healing. Be very mindful of your diet during this period, even before that, of your speech and your dental health at the same time. Be very careful the things that you drink and things of that nature. From here, Saturn is opposing your eighth house. This is a deeply psychological house that has to do with profound psychological transformation. It has to do with sudden events that can take place. It has to do with money as well. This axis, the 2-8 axis, is the money axis and the self-worth axis. And so shared finances and shared resources are, you know, being restructured, being reassessed and reconsidered. And what does that mean to you personally? You know, there could be fears pertaining to that, fears, subconscious fears that arise during this time that Saturn will be stirring up and bringing to your attention. Self-worth issues that may surface as well for healing. The eighth house has a lot to do with, like I said, psychology, but also therapy. And so Saturn, you know, when he aspects the eighth house or when he's in the eighth house, you know, sometimes we have a greater interest for therapy, for psychology, for healing, for astrology and esoteric subjects as well. Now, Saturn from your second house is also aspecting your fourth house. This house deals with your home life, your family life. And so there could be also some issues pertaining to your home. Maybe you have added responsibilities around this time. Maybe your home requires some sort of repairs, renovations during this period. There could be issues pertaining to your mother that arise as well. Maybe your mother needs your support. Maybe you need to resolve something pertaining to your mother, some sort of karmic debt. It's important to maintain very strong emotional boundaries during this time, okay? And so family life is going to be a lot more demanding. From the second house, Saturn is aspecting your 11th house of your wishes, your dreams, your desires. Now Saturn is putting a pause. He's putting a temporary block on these areas, okay? And so now you're reconsidering, what are my dreams really? What are my life goals really? What do I really desire? What do I really want? And it has a lot to do with Saturn being in your second house of your personal values. It's very connected to that. And so this is being transformed. This area is being transformed and restructured. And you're also thinking of, where do I belong? Where do I fit in? Who is my social circle? Who are my friends, my connections? There's a reconsideration of the people that you want to associate with, or the people that you've been associating with. If you've been desiring some sort of recognition or some sort of promotion at work, there is going to be a delay during this period, but it doesn't mean that it's a denial. It just means it's not the right time, but you will be getting what you have been putting out there. It's going to come back to you. And so older siblings, if you have older siblings, then they may need your support around this time, or there's some sort of unresolved issue that may surface once again for healing, for reconciliation, maybe for some of you.